Hi, my name is Heather Marinko, and today I'm going to be discussing the impact that gray wolves have on Washington State. In the year of 1930, the gray wolf population in Washington went completely extinct. However, fast forward 80 years to 2008, and the first breeding pair of the 20th century had been confirmed being seen in Washington. After a few years of ups and downs and arguments on both sides, we face the argument that Washington deals with today, whether or not Washington's gray wolves have a positive or negative effect on their ecosystem. The reintroduction of gray wolves in eastern Washington has led to an increase in their population, as well as several questions based on the impact they will have to our state. I will be discussing the positive and negative effects that wolves have on different aspects of the state's environment, as well as the state's plan to manage them in their current status, as well as future growth. I'm going to start by talking about what led to their reintroduction. According to Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, because of trapping, poisoning, and hunting, the population of gray wolves led to extinction. The population of gray wolves that was once extinct re-entered Washington on their own, meaning there was no federal or state responsibility for their reintroduction. Like I said earlier, in 2008, the first confirmed breeding pair was sighted, making the gray wolf population go from extinct to endangered. Since reintroduction, their growth has increased tremendously. There's a yearly growth of 28% of their population. In 2018, they recorded 126 wolves, 27 packs, and 15 breeding pairs within our borders. To continue, since the increase in population, there has been a large impact on our agriculture industry as well as our wildlife population. The agriculture industry has faced a huge financial loss due to the increased population of the gray wolves. According to brand inspector Lynn Cotter, the beef prices in Washington as of right now are $1.30 a pound, being equivalent to about $1,300.50 per head. The loss of one cow for a rancher can be detrimental to their business and even put them out of business. According to an article published by WorkCron, the yearly salary of a cattle rancher in Washington is nearly $56,000. However, when you take into account that just the price of one cow is nearly $1,400, the wolves killing off even the slightest amount of their herd can be detrimental to their business and put an end to their operation. In the 2015 annual report done by the United States Fish and Wildlife, they reported that 15% of the packs in Washington were faced responsible for killing livestock. However, even though they have a negative impact on our agriculture industry, we have seen a positive impact on our wildlife industry. According to the Spokesman Review, they said that wolves are causing different species of deer as well as elk to disperse throughout the state. Due to their populations dispersing on wider ranges, they're bettering Washington's ecology as well as reducing overcrowding and overpopulation of these species. In addition to reducing overcrowding, by spreading out the different species of deer, you're reducing the possibility of crossbreeding between different species of deer such as whitetail and mule deer, bettering the genetics in our state as well as their health. According to an article by Western Wildlife Organization, wolves primarily prey on old and sick members of herds. This is naturally keeping populations in a healthy number to help the deer and elk populations of our state thrive. If the populations of deer and elk are overpopulated, that can result in an increase of death due to a lack of food as well as water source. Wolves are only responsible for 3% of deer and elk deaths in our state. A lot of times people think that wolves are responsible for killing off large numbers of herds, when in reality, the amount of deaths that they're responsible for is very small. Furthermore, as we continue down the path of population growth, let's look at the management plan for future growth as the wolf population continues to increase. According to United States Fish and Wildlife, the gray wolf is classified as an endangered species under the state law in WAC 232-12014. Wolves on tribal land are at tribe's discretion, meaning that if they think that the population on their tribal lands is getting too heavy, they have the right to deal with it as they see fit. However, hunting wolves on non-tribal land is prohibited, unless the wolves are causing life-threatening threats towards your family members or even your livestock. By protecting the population, by limiting the amount of hunting that can be done on this species, we are reducing the risk of re-extinction, but at the same time making sure that the population isn't being overgrown. To monitor the population of wolves, they use ground as well as air observations, meaning whether through helicopters or search teams on the ground tracking the wolves. They also use cameras, tracking collars, and different types of tracking devices to monitor the wolves' population, patterns of hunting, as well as their patterns of movement. Regulation is also a key piece in monitoring this species. Tribal members are allowed to hunt on tribal land, as I stated earlier. However, they are only allowed 6 wolf harvests per year per tribe, meaning they can only harvest a limited number of these species per year, reducing the risk of re-extinction. They have also started to allow trapping on tribal land, just so that's another method of reducing their population if the need comes. To conclude, let's review the different points I discussed on the Washington gray wolf. As I discussed earlier, in the 1930s, the gray wolf in Washington went extinct. However, after a few years of them being able to regroup, they made their first appearance in Washington State in 2008, when they confirmed the first breeding pair. With them followed a long list of pros and cons, however, as I discussed, including what led to their reintroduction, how they affected wildlife as well as agriculture, and how the state plans to manage them for future growth, as well as where they stand today. The gray wolf is a species that has made Washington its home again, and they've proven that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Therefore, all the positive and negatives that follow with this species are going to have to be dealt with as they come about. And so we can make sure that Washington's ecosystem and environment is sustained in a healthy way while still managing the state's wolf population. Thank you.